somewhere in the South Atlantic. 1943, a man is alone on a wooden raft, 8 feet across. That's it. That is his entire world. The sun has been punishing him for weeks. The skin on his shoulders is peeling, red and raw. Salt has crusted into what's left of his uniform. The fabric scrapes against his body like sandpaper with every movement. And this man is making a knife out of a cookie tin. He grabs the empty tin, bends the metal with his destroyed fingers, uses his own shoe as a hammer to shape the blade. Hits, until the metal becomes something that cuts. His name is Poon Lim, Chinese sailor, 25 years old, and it's been like 80 days he's been out here, alone, in the middle of the ocean. But he's not making this knife for nothing. He's preparing, because tomorrow, he's going to hunt a shark with his bare hands. Poon Lim was one of 54 crew members on a British ship. 2 German torpedoes sank that ship in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 53 men died. He is the only survivor on an 8-foot raft 750 miles from the nearest coast. He will spend 133 days on that raft, and when he's finally rescued, when he survives the impossible, what happens next is so absurd it makes the loneliness of the ocean seem kind. This is the story of how one man cheated the Atlantic using a biscuit tin. But before we get to the raft, we need to go back. Poon Lim was born in 1918, Hainan Island, China, an island where life revolves entirely around the sea. He learned to read the ocean before he learned to read books. Currents, tides, danger. In the 1930s, Japan tightened its grip on China. Lim's father, afraid his son would be drafted to die in a war, sent him away. Lim joined the British Merchant Navy as a cabin boy. And there, he discovered that being Asian on a European ship was almost as bad as being at war. Discrimination, abuse, dead-end positions. He quit, went to Hong Kong, became a mechanic. But in 1941, Japan invaded Hong Kong, and the British Navy, desperate for sailors, put out a call for Chinese recruits. Lim went back to sea, this time as steward aboard the SS Ben Lomond, a British cargo ship, armed but slow. Too slow. November 23, 1942, the Ben Lomond sails alone through the South Atlantic. No escort, no convoy. 54 men on board. The German submarine US-172 finds them 750 miles off the Brazilian coast. 2 torpedoes. The ship sinks in 2 minutes. No time to launch lifeboats. No time for anything. Lim straps the life jacket to his body and jumps. The boilers explode. He gets sucked under, fights his way back to the surface. When he emerges, wreckage floating everywhere, screams growing fainter. And then, the U-172 surfaces. The submarine crew spots Lim in the water. They laugh, they wave, and they leave. 53 men die. Poon Lim is alone in the South Atlantic. 2 hours. 2 hours swimming. A man who barely knows how to swim, floating in the South Atlantic for 2 hours, clinging to a piece of wood. And then he sees it. A wooden raft floating among the wreckage, 8 feet across. He manages to climb on. In the distance, he spots another raft. 4 or 5 men on it, waving at him, probably gunners from the Ben Lomond. But Lim has no way to propel his raft. No working oar. The 2 rafts drift apart. Slowly, those men are going to die. Lim doesn't know it yet, but they will. Now. The inventory. What he has to survive. 6 boxes of dry biscuits, chocolate, 10 cans of pemmican, some evaporated milk, 10 gallons of water, a flashlight, hemp rope, flares, a tarp. He does the math. If he rations it, 2 biscuits in the morning, 2 at night, a few sips of water. That lasts about 50 days. 83 days of nothing. And this is where Poon Lim stops being a castaway and becomes an engineer. He doesn't wait for the supplies to run out. While he still has food, he thinks plans. Because he knows the biscuits will run out, the water will run out. And when that happens, he needs to already have the tools ready. First tool, fish hook. He takes apart the flashlight, pulls out the spring inside, bends it with his fingers until it forms a hook, unravels the hemp rope, strand by strand, until he has a fishing line, crushes dry biscuit crumbs as bait, casts, waits, pulls small fish. But small fish can't sustain a man, so he uses the small fish as bait to catch big fish. Catches several weighing 20 pounds. Second tool, reinforced hook. He pulls a nail from the raft's planks. With his bare hands, bends it into a hook shape. Now he has 2 types of hook. The thin spring one for small fish, the thick nail one for big fish. Third tool, the knife. He grabs an empty biscuit tin, bends the metal, uses his shoe as a hammer, hits, shapes, until the metal becomes a blade. With that knife, he cuts the fish, opens the guts, separates the flesh into strips, hangs them on the hemp rope over the raft to dry in the sun. Fourth tool, water collector. He takes the canvas cover off the life jacket, stretches it out like a basin. When it rains, the water collects, he drinks, saves what's left. And there's one detail. Poon Lim can't swim well, so every time he needs to get into the water, he ties a rope from the raft to his wrist. If he falls, he doesn't drift from the raft. If he loses the raft, it's over. Simple as that. With a spring, a nail, a tin can, and a shoe. He built a survival system in the middle of the Atlantic, alone, day 50. The supplies run out, but he's ready. He has dried fish hanging on the rope. The rain collection system is working. He has the hooks. He's in control. And then the storm hits. The South Atlantic decides it won't be that easy. Waves crash against the raft. The hemp rope with the dried fish, gone. His entire food supply destroyed. The stored water, contaminated with salt water. Everything he built, weeks of work, weeks of patience, gone in one night. Poon Lim nearly dies, not from drowning, not from sharks, from dehydration. It hasn't rained in days, no fish, nothing. His body starts to shut down, and then a seagull appears, flying in circles above the raft. Lim goes still, completely still. He places a piece of anything, whatever was left, as bait at the edge of the raft. The seagull comes down. When the bird goes for the bait, Lim grabs it by the neck. The bird fights. Beak and claws tear into the skin of his arms. Deep cuts. Blood, but he doesn't let go. He kills the bird, opens it with the tin knife, and drinks the blood. There was no water. The bird's blood was all he had. He quarters the rest, dries the meat in the sun, and starts hunting birds regularly. The blood quenches the thirst. The meat feeds him. But the blood attracts something else. Sharks. The blood from the birds and fish drips from the raft into the water, and they come, dark shadows circling beneath the wood. Most people run from sharks. Poon Lim decides to hunt one. He pulls out another nail from the raft, bends it, rebraids what's left of the rope. He has a hook and a line again, weaker than before, but it works. He uses the remains of the last bird as bait, throws it in the water, waits. A shark bites, the line stretches, trembles, but holds. Lim pulls, drags the animal onto the raft, and the shark attacks him, thrashing on the wood. Lim beats it until the animal stops moving. He cuts the shark open with the Biscuit tin knife, drinks the blood from the liver. It hadn't rained in days. It was that or die of thirst. Then, he cuts the fins, leaves them drying in the sun. Dried shark fin, a delicacy from Hainan Island, food from his homeland, in the middle of the Atlantic, a taste of home. He survives day after day. Birds, fish, sharks, his body holds on. But the hardest part isn't the hunger, isn't the thirst, isn't the sun, it's hope. First, near rescue. A cargo ship appears on the horizon. Lim shouts in English, fluent, loud. The ship gets closer, close enough to see the crew on deck. They see him and sail on. Without stopping, Lim believes they didn't stop because he was Asian. In the middle of the South Atlantic in 1942, an Asian man on a raft could be an enemy Japanese sailor, or worse, a U-boat trap. The Germans used survivors as bait to lure ships. Second, near rescue. A squadron of American Navy seaplanes spots the raft. One of the planes comes down low, drops a marker buoy in the water, a clear rescue signal. It will come back for him. Lim tries to reach the buoy. A storm hits the area. The waves push the raft away from the buoy. When the Navy comes back to get him, he's no longer there. Third, a German U-boat, the same type of submarine that sank his ship, surfaces near the raft during target practice on seagulls. The crew sees Lim. They do nothing. 3 times. 3 times someone sees him. 3 times no one helps. After that, Lim stops counting days. The knots on the rope no longer make sense. He starts counting full moons. It's not giving up. It's adaptation. He's no longer waiting for rescue. He's living on the ocean as if it were forever. Day 131. Something changes. The color of the water. It's no longer that deep blue of open ocean. It's green, pale, seaweed floating around the raft. Birds fly lower, closer. Lim doesn't know exactly what it means, but he feels it. Something is different. Day 133. April 5th, 1943. A sail on the horizon. Lim has no more flares. They ran out weeks ago. He takes off his shirt, waves, jumps on the raft. His destroyed body forced to move as if his life depended on it. Because it does. The boat changes direction, heads toward him. 3 Brazilian fishermen. They speak Portuguese. Lim speaks Chinese and English. Nobody understands each other, but it doesn't matter. They see the raft. They see the body. They see the 133 days written on that man. Poon Lim steps off the raft and walks on his own, without help. 133 days in the middle of the Atlantic. 20 pounds lighter, and he walks. The fishermen take him to Belém, Mouth of the Amazon. Brazil, 4 weeks in the hospital, full recovery. The news spreads. King George VI personally awards him the British Empire Medal, the highest civilian decoration. The Royal Navy rewrites its survival manuals based on his techniques. They place booklets on every life raft in the fleet. Poon Lim becomes the reference. After the war, he emigrates to the United States. The Chinese immigrant quota is full, but a senator introduces a special bill just for him. Past citizenship in 1952. A home, he has children, becomes chief steward of the United States lines, works at sea until he retires in 1983. And then, he applies to the United States Navy. The man who survived 133 days alone in the ocean, who made a knife out of a biscuit tin, who hunted sharks with his bare hands, who drank bird blood to keep from dying of thirst. Rejected. Reason? Flat feet. Poon Lim died in 1991, at 72 years old, in Brooklyn. To this day, no one has spent more time alone on a raft at sea. When they told him about the record, he said only one thing: "I hope nobody will ever have to break that record."